seems to be some fluid leaking on this side of the manifold. Man, look at that. I gotta shut this thing off. Oh yeah. Let's hope nothing's on fire here. That's not good.
Those crackling noises were 100% real. They didn't let up and I was extremely concerned. Luckily, my car is still in one piece and I did end up shooting water on the driver's side cat to be on the safe side. The cause of the smoke was completely my fault. A loose valve cover leaked a steady stream of oil which dripped right on top of the catalytic converter. Luckily, the car didn't run long enough to cause any major flames. If there's one auto brand that's known for their cars catching on fire, it's Ferrari. The design has remained the same for decades, but on most Ferrari mid-engine cars, there are two fuel pumps that sit on either side of the engine right above the exhaust manifold. For whatever reason, likely cost savings, Ferrari has plastic fuel pump hats. Over time, the plastic gets brittle, breaks down, and starts to leak gasoline. That gasoline travels almost directly on the exhaust manifolds, which at over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit ignites and quickly catches the car on fire. Notice how many of these photos show the early stages of a Ferrari fire right in the quarter panel. That's because the gas tank lives under there. This car pictured is actually my friend Scott's. It's his old 355, which was recently lost due to a fuel fire. This car was decimated and now looks like this and is currently for sale at a salvage auction, which gave me an idea. How about I buy it and rebuild it? Seems impossible, right? Well, I haven't seen it in person. Scott told me that the carpets are still intact, which means it can definitely be rebuilt. Well, I've got enough panel bond and seam sealer to patch this one right up. I'd want to eventually get a donor car. And check this out, there's another 355 at the salvage auction. This one in near perfect shape and would make for the perfect donor. My game plan would be to strip out this red one, cut it to bits, then apply sections of it to the burnt one, only where necessary though. Even though it might take a year's time and cost way more than just going and buying a used one with the clean title that I'll have no problem registering, it'll be worth it upon its first drive. Unless, of course, it immediately catches back on fire. Okay, that was all just a joke. I already have my hands full with this Ferrari. While reinstalling its manifold, I broke a belt tensioner, and that's what's keeping us from driving it. The good news is, I replaced a ton of new service parts while I was in there that should keep this Ferrari strong for several more years.
These parts include new ignition coils and spark plugs, upper and lower intake manifold gaskets, but if anything is going to fix our misfires, it's the fact that we clean the pools of oil out of both sides of the intake manifold here, and possibly the brand new mass airflow sensors on both sides. Before we get underneath the Ferrari and repair its tensioner, I want to show you a gadget I've been using a lot lately while working on this car, and that is the new Raycon wireless earbuds. What's inside here is very small, but the sound is really big. Here, come a little closer.
These are the E25s by Raycon. They're crisp, loud, and bassy. When Bad and Bougie comes on, I don't just hear Offset, I become Offset. Woo, woo, woo. And you won't be upset by the battery life of the E25s. There's a built-in battery in its tiny charging case that gives you enough juice for an entire day. With 6 custom silicone tips, they'll fit pretty much anyone. They stay put even at the gym or during a run and are super comfortable even after hours of listening. When I'm done listening to music, I'll keep one earbud in. That way if someone calls me, I can just tap the button here on this side that answers the call. If I don't want to answer the call, I can just hold it to decline. It makes phone calls super convenient. These earbuds come in a bunch of different colors and with a money-back guarantee. They offer the quality and technology of earbuds twice their price, and right now you can get an additional 15% off if you use the code SAM15 when you visit buyraycon.com/SamCrack. I'll leave all of that down in the description box below. And of course, I want to give a huge thanks to Raycon for sponsoring this video. All right, let's go underneath where we should be able to remove our problem bracket, which is right here. This bracket right here. This is the one that holds our idler pulley on, and the idler pulley, the tensioner bolt, which is right here, that connects to the pulley bolt. There's something wrong between this and this. In order to figure that out, we're just going to pull this entire bracket off. At the same time, wipe some of that oil off that caused our crackling and popping, smoking, and little fire issues last time. Just like everything with the Ferrari, this is a bit more involved than I had anticipated. So the bracket that holds those fasteners we need to repair for our front idler pulley there, it also holds the alternator in place. So
There's a couple more screws. Then there's one hidden behind the alternator. And then there's one that's really, really tight. You have to access from the cabin. So I went and did all of those. So now I started prying and it's coming out quite easy. But basically, we need to get this alternator loose like that. Now we should be able to get this right here, this last screw out, and then our entire bracket should come out. And you notice this oil that's dripping that was causing all that smoke on both sides. What was going on, our valve cover gaskets are loose. It leaked on this side, causing the oil to hit right above us, those gold things right there, the primary cats, and bam, those get hot within seconds, cause all that smoke, all that crackling, and you got to be careful. You don't want an oil fire. But anyway, let's go ahead. Let's get that bolt out and let's get this bracket out of the car. All right, to get that final screw off, to get this bracket off, we actually did have to take out the entire alternator from the top and the bottom. It is not hanging by its wires. It is actually resting the edge of it on the engine here. So we are good, and that means our bracket, which just fell on the floor, and look what fell with it, our broken fastener on the inside here. This is the reason why our belt was having no tension. So let's take this bracket set up with us and let's repair it outside of the car, and then we'll reverse what we just did. Here's a look at the alternator bracket from the outside of the car. Basically, this screw right here is what holds the pulley in place, and you could see that there's a lot of movement here. That's because there's a bolt that goes in from the bottom, that bolt that broke off. That bolt, essentially, the more you tighten it, the more it pulls it down this way and creates tighter tension on your belt. I didn't know exactly what broke, so I went ahead, I ordered both pieces of hardware. Now we're ready to just go ahead, put this back in the car with our new hardware. We'll tighten it up, then we'll go up top, tighten up a few other things that might be causing our oil leak, and maybe we'll be able to take it for a drive. All right, we're on the last step, and that is to make sure we do not do what we did last time and break our tensioner. Right is actually loose, left is tight, and so this belt has to just wrap around this last pulley. I'm just gonna have to keep messing with it. That's the way I did it last time, was I did push this under here, like slid this behind here. Let's see here. And then get this where it goes. See, will that give me enough room? Oh, it's so close, so freaking close. Such a pain. Look at how much is just hanging off. I mean, that's how much I need right now. If I move this bolt, I'm gonna try to just the tiniest bit, but when I do, it tightens. Just needed a couple second break right there. All right, son of a gun. I should be able to move this up, move this in. We'll tighten that from up there. And I'm going to go ahead and put some tension on our tensioner pin down here, get it nice and tight. And all we've got is one more, I think it is this guy right here. Tighten that from the cabin, tighten this in the cabin. And we can then get the car on the ground, tighten up a few other loose things, and make sure this belt doesn't slip anymore. Something I've personally never done before, never seen done before, is something that I learned about on this Ferrari. Is that Ferrari checks to make sure that your belts are installed, whether it's the accessory belt we just put back on or even your timing belts. They check to make sure that they're installed properly by checking the frequency they make when you strum them. So there's a very expensive tool that you put up to this area. It has microphones, and when you strum it, it takes the frequency reading. I do not have that expensive tool, but what I do have is my smartphone and an app that was made by a company called Gates. Gates makes a lot of drive belts for a ton of different applications. I downloaded this free app. All you do is hit this button, You strum the belt. Until it gives you a reading, which right here, we have our reading is 98 hertz. That is right below where we need to be, somewhere between like 116 and 125 hertz. So just by running the car a little bit, that must have loosened things up, because the first time I took this reading, it was at 118 hertz. That means we need to get back underneath the car until we're back at least 116 hertz. We are all back together. This is the first time I'm starting it back up since last time when it almost caught on fire. Let's see how it sounds, how it works, and let's see here. Sounds really good, but one thing I want to do really quick is this right here. I want to get the power steering fluid moved a little bit since we had to take that reservoir out. Make sure it's not leaking. I got Zach back there looking. Let's see here. Move that around. You see any fluid or anything, Zach? We got the smoke coming up again, so let's shut that off. Okay, now there's just some leftover, yeah, definitely. But I want to make sure it's not gushing oil down there like it was last time, and it's not. So last time it was pretty apparent there was oil leaking all over that corner there. So before we even get started, it says 5 days ago is the last time we scanned it, which is whenever I turned it on the first time. Basically, we want to see if it throws misfire codes right off the bat. So if it does, we don't even want to go on a ride. Okay, so that's a really good sign. Let's see what happens here. No check engine lights as of right now. Now the check engine would always flash in the upper RPM range, which means cameraman, hold on to anything that you can. We got to do one upper RPM run, and that starts right now. Here we go. For good measure, we'll go ahead, we'll scan one more time while we're driving the car, just slowly, and see if we have any issues, any misfire codes. Even though the engine would throw a misfire code and a flashing check engine when you would rev it out in a higher RPM, it would still throw some misfire codes just at idle and really any time before. So the fact that we haven't got any flashing check engine light, and look at that, none, guys, we fixed our issue. So the Ferrari runs, and it really runs beautifully. I've taken this car around town now for the last few days, and there's been no stuttering, no misfires, nothing. There's only one minor issue, and that is over on the blue tarp. I've been parking this car over in the barn. There's still a few little oil drips. No big deal, still probably coming from the valve covers, right? Well, I don't think so. When I reach all around the valve covers before, where it was oily in the spots that were loose, there is no oil. And look, I'm reaching all in there right now. Hands are for the most part clean, a little bit of dirt. You got to expect that from the engine bay. But if there was an oil leak, you would have major oil all over your hands. I'm gonna go all around this side, make sure. And again, nothing. Now, when I did get this car, there was a steady leak of oil, but I figured it was something simple like the valve covers, like the cam covers that we just did. Those were definitely leaking. We still have an oil leak. Let's just quickly jack this car up and see if there's anything obvious under there. And right off the bat, look, you can see where it's dripping. Look, right there. Now, the other thing is, if it was still the valve covers while I was driving, you would smell the burned oil. Look, it just dripped. You would smell oil, you would see all that smoke like we did before. This is definitely where it's coming from, and that's where the trans is meeting the engine, meaning we likely have a rear main seal leak. If you look even right above it, you know, sometimes you'll have leaks that look like rear main seal leaks, but they're just traveling down valleys here in the engine. It's all clean up there, look. It's leaking right there. And look on this side too. It's nice and clean. That's 100% a rear main seal leak. One of the more expensive, more labor-intensive leaks to fix really on any car. Usually the seal is cheap, and being that it's a Ferrari, I'm sure the labor is several $1,000s. What a bittersweet car. We fix our misfire issues only to find a rear main seal leak. Now follow me on this one. I want your input on it. Would you also install a new clutch while you're doing the rear main seal? I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer, but remember, this car has gone 20,000 miles. I'm pretty sure it's still on the original clutch, which means it can make it at least another 20,000 miles on the same clutch, which is pretty darn expensive. The whole entire kit to refresh the clutch while you're in there doing the rear main would cost an additional $2,000 to $2,500. But of course, if you replace the clutch now, you're gonna get that extra life. It's just, do you want to spend the extra money? Let me know what you would do if you were in my shoes in the comments section below. Now this is going to sound crazy, but the more I work on this car, the more I fall in love with it. Sure, there are a lot of simple tasks that become super tedious because of how it's built on a Ferrari, but it is all accessible, and as far as I understand, especially through the research and working on this car, the Ferrari 360 is one of the most affordable Ferraris anybody could buy, and we got a great deal at the salvage auction for it. We really haven't spent a ton of money. If you think about what we've bought so far, well, it's been on little gaskets and, you know, spark plugs, things like that. But with the clutch, the rear main seal, and restoring the interior and all that, the price is gonna jump a little bit more quickly. I think it will still be a great deal in the end. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a huge like. Also, if you're not already following me on Instagram, where I'm posting a lot of video and photos of the work we're doing on the Ferrari before anything goes live here on YouTube, just go right here, click the link in the description box below. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for watching today, and I'll catch you very soon. Okay, guys, we get it. No, it's stopping. See that? It's this darn top. All right, what is stopping? Ferrari. It's not going into the tub now. What in the heck? Well, I don't really want it down. I want it up, but I only put it down to put it back up. So let's try putting it back up. Okay. This thing scares me like it's gonna cut my head off every single time. All right, here we go. That closes. Oh, it's right there. It's right there. What is it hitting? It's like it's coming down right here. It's hitting this. Look at this. Is this supposed to come out like that? I guess. Oh, maybe. What is that? Something broken? I think that. Hold on, or it's missing it. It's that. Oh no, this goes up here. Look, that is what's wrong. That broke off. Oh great. Okay, well if we just kind of do this slowly, which there is no. There we go.
There we go.
Woo!